Hello, so you want to start making handmade greeting cards with rubber stamps, ink, and paper, and you don't know where to start? Well, you've come to the right place. My name is Kim Quade, and I am with KimPlaysWithPaper.com. I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for almost 10 years now. I'll be 10 years in November. And I've started a short video series of how to get started rubber stamping. Last week, I covered rubber stamps and all the different types of rubber stamps, so you can make us have an idea of what kind of stamps that you should grab to start rubber stamping. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the ink. Now, if you want to go back and look at the video from last week, look at KimPlaysWithPaper.com or look in the information that I've included in this video and shoot me an email and I'll give you a link. So when it comes to ink and Stampin' Up! And making handmade greeting cards, there are lots and lots of choices in this category, from classic dye-based ink available in an array of colors to your Memento, the general purpose black ink, to our StazOn, a permanent black ink, Versamark, a watermarking ink, and then a craft ink. To get started, I recommend getting a few coordinating colors of your classic dye-based ink, just like this Poppy Parade from Stampin' Up. Stampin' Up offers these full-size foam ink pads in about 50 different colors. So you have a lot of choices when it comes to creating your images. So you choose a few to get started, and these should get you through that. The one thing I do recommend is buying the ink refill so that when your pad, you've used it a lot, you'll be able to re-ink it. And let me just quick show you how easy that is. Let me move these others out of the way. This is the Poppy Parade, and this is the ink refill for that. I give it a little shake. I don't know that that's necessary, but I do that. Put a few dots of that re-inker on the pad. Close that up. And then just take something flat and mush the ink around on your pad. Now, the great thing about these pads is that they are dye-based, so they're water-based, so they clean off easily. They're not going to be permanent. They won't stain. To close this pad, just like a compact. Now, the design of these stamp pads is such that the stamp pad is stored upside down, so all the ink stays at the top of your pad where you want it. Another thing to know about Stampin' Up's ink pads is that they are very fresh. These foam pads have a lot of ink when you first get them, so it's not necessary to press really, really hard when you're starting to stamp. So I'm just going to tap, tap, tap on my ink pad. I often use my Stampin' Up! Grid paper to practice to see what kind of an image I'm going to get. You can see that image there. So then I'll just stamp into my Whisper white paper, give it a good press evenly and firmly, and there's that image. Now, if you find yourself getting ink around the outsides of your acrylic block, you'll realize that you've started to press too hard or moved it around, and that's really not necessary. All you need is like a quick tap, 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 and then an even and firm press on that. The great thing about the dye-based ink pads is that they just clean right off with your Simply Chamois, like I showed in last week's video. But the Simply Chamois is wet. I just wipe my stamp on there and it is cleaned off. So like I said, these come in about 50 different colors, so choose your favorite and don't be afraid to get started and stamp away. Now, sometimes these might be a little big for if you're like, say you're traveling or you just want a few to try to get started. Stampin' Up does have the, they're called classic Stampin' Spots. They're this little mini 1-inch ink pads, and they are available in a limited number of colors, but that's kind of another option for you. I really like these when I'm stamping small sentiments so that I don't get ink all over the rubber. And I also like it when I'm using Stampin' Up's Stamparatus. So that's what these are really nice for. These also, if you are a subscriber to Paper Pumpkin, they also come, you get one of these in your Paper Pumpkin subscription box. So that's a nice way to start your little collection of inks. If you do the Paper Pumpkin or if you subscribe to that, there will be a different color Stampin' Spot in each kit. So by the end of the year, you'll have accrued 12 different colors to your collection. Now, if you wanted to create your own colors, Stampin' Up also offers the uninked ink spots, so you can tell there is no ink in there, and you would just buy the uninked ink spots, which are available in the catalog, and any re-inker, and apply the ink to that, and you have your mini ink pad. You'll want to remember too to store these upside down to keep the ink fresh, and try to keep the cap on so those don't dry out. The next important ink is our very basic Memento ink. This is a really good basic black ink, and I find myself grabbing for this if I need just a basic black. It's a perfect water-based ink to use when coloring with Stampin' Up Stampin' Blends, our alcohol markers. Just a nice all-purpose black ink. The pads are available in Stampin' Up's catalog in the online store, as well as the refills. I'm just to show you, this pad is just a little bit different. It's more of a linen pad, so you won't get that smushiness. That's a great word, isn't it? Smushiness. And so I just inked up my pad, inked up my stamp, and there's my black. Again, what the really nice thing about this is it's water-based, so I'll bring in my Simply Chamois and clean off my stamp with that. So that's just a very nice basic black ink, and I also store that one upside down as well. The next ink is our the StazOn. Stampin' Up sells both the jet black and the saddle brown. They are a permanent ink, so that's perfect for when you want to use watercolor techniques. Your image won't run, or stamping on non-porous surfaces like vellum and window sheets. There's also a StazOn refill and a StazOn cleaner, so you can clean your stamp off after that. That's just the same kind of there's an extra lid to keep that fresh, but that's the same linen pad as the Memento, but just this StazOn is a more permanent ink, and they have a refill for that as well. The other kind of ink that you'll see is the Versamark, and that is a pad. It's a clear, well, mine has been used a lot, and actually that does not, the coloring on there does not affect the stamping at all. But what the Versamark does is help you create a tone-on-tone effect for colored paper or a watermarked image. So you'd use this pad if you're planning to heat emboss any of your images. And the pad and the refill are both available from Stampin' Up. I'll kind of see if I can show you in the video what that tone-on-tone looks like if you just want a different, say that you don't have the Poppy Parade ink, but you would like that to just do the tone on tone. So can you see that image? So that's just a lighter image of that. So that's your Versamark pad. And I give that a good wipe with the chamois as well, but sometimes a little teeny bit of Stays-On cleaner will help that as well. The other kind of ink that I don't have to show you in my collection right now is the Craft Stampin Pad. It's a permanent ink in white, and it comes uninked, and you add the refill before you start stamping. Images stamped with the Craft ink often need a longer drying time, or you can heat set it with the heat tool. So you can see there's a wide variety of ink that you can get started with to start with your rubber stamping projects. Just as a quick recap, you have the classic dye-based ink, about 50 different colors of that. That's water-based, just good for just everyday stamping that you'd like to do. Then we have our Memento, our basic black ink, just a all-around solid black ink, good for also using if you're going to be doing some coloring with our Stampin' Blends. Then you have the Stays-On, the permanent black ink. If you do heat embossing or stamping on something where you really need a permanent ink, that's what you would use. And then our Versamark for the watermarks or backgrounds. Remember that there are re-inkers available, and I suggest you purchase that along with your stamp pad, so that if you use one color a lot, you'll want to be able to re-ink that when you're ready. And also just a quick reminder that there is a small selection of colors of this classic Stampin' Spots, and then you can create your own ink pads with the uninked ink spots. So thank you for joining me today. My name is Kim Quade with KimPlaysWithPaper.com, a Stampin' Up demonstrator in Mesa, Arizona. Join me next week as I continue on in this video series showing you how to get started rubber stamping. Next week, we will discuss paper and paper cutting and different kinds of paper that are available for your crafting needs. Thanks so much for watching the video and for joining me. I would love it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel, Kim Plays with Paper, so that you can get notifications of when I have new videos. Thanks for joining me today. Have a good one. Bye-bye.